what's ahead with Wembanyama. SGA took him deep, and Gilgeous-Alexander. Wembanyama rolls to the ball.
Who is winning the 2027 NBA championship? And it is not the team with the best record. It is not the team led by the back-to-back MVP. It is one of the two teams staring at each other on your screen right now, and I promise you, only one of them is actually lifting that trophy. Oklahoma City just won 64 games. Nobody else in the league was close. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just became a back-to-back most valuable player, the first player to do that since Nikola Jokic. The Thunder are the defending champions. On paper, I'll be honest, they look like the safest team basketball has produced in years. And yet, there is one team on this planet that has already solved them. Not once, not by accident.
I think we were consistent and we did what we needed to do. Trusted the game, trusted.
San Antonio beat Oklahoma City 4 times in 5 regular season meetings. Then they did it again in a brutal 7-game Western Conference Finals that ended with Oklahoma City losing in its own building. Don't believe me? Let's look at the tape. But first, I need to clear the board, because 2 other contenders think they belong in this conversation. In my opinion, they don't, and I'm going to show you exactly why. Let's start in Philadelphia, because Philadelphia just made the loudest move of the entire summer. LeBron James signed with the 76ers. 2 years, $8 million. A number so small for a player of his stature that it tells you everything about why he actually made the move. He is 41 years old.
Camp or start for the season? What's going on with your health?
Feel pretty good. I think we made a lot of.
He is entering his 24th season. He called this his last decision, the final stop of a career that has already produced 4 championships. And now he's walking into a front court with Joel Embiid, one of the most gifted centers of his generation. On paper, that sounds terrifying. But be careful, because paper does not play 82 games.
I know we lost.
Embiid appeared in just 38 games last season. Knee soreness, an oblique strain, a shin issue, and then, right before the playoffs even started, an appendectomy. Philadelphia still managed something remarkable, coming back from a 3-1 deficit to beat Boston in the first round. It was something the franchise had not accomplished since 1982. Then New York swept them in the second round. 4 straight losses, season over. So here's Philadelphia's problem, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Their best-case scenario is a championship. Their biggest concern is whether their stars can stay healthy long enough to survive 4 playoff rounds.
Biggest stars, LeBron James, announcing what he calls the last decision of his career.
I don't think you can build a reliable championship run around 2 players whose availability remains this uncertain. A 41-year-old and a center who has spent more time in trainers' rooms than in playoff fourth quarters is not a championship formula. It's a countdown clock wrapped around another countdown clock. Philadelphia is eliminated. Now let's talk about the team that just won it all. The New York Knicks are the defending 2026 champions, and I want to be completely fair to them, because what they did was genuinely special. They swept Cleveland to reach the finals. Then they beat San Antonio 4-1 to win their first title since 1973. 53 years of waiting, gone in 5 games. But look at how they actually won it. Game 4, down 29 points. They stormed back to win on a tip-in with 1.2 seconds left. The biggest comeback in finals history. Game 5, down 16 in the fourth quarter, and Jalen Brunson exploded for 45 points. A Knicks franchise finals record, breaking a mark that had stood since Willis Reed in 1970. They erased 29. They erased 16. They erased what should have been impossible, twice, in the same series. I don't think that's a formula you can simply run back. That's a franchise living on rescue missions. Brunson has to be that heroic again. The role players have to hit those exact shots again. And meanwhile, over in the East, Cleveland got swept out of the conference finals without winning a single game, which tells you the conference behind New York is thinner than people want to admit, and a thin conference does not sharpen a champion, it softens them. Winning a title on a run of miracles is not the same thing as building a dynasty. New York is eliminated. Okay, 2 contenders down. Now we get to the 2 teams that actually matter, because trust me, this is where the real argument starts. Let's give Oklahoma City its due first, because I am not eliminating a weak team here. This is arguably the most talented roster in basketball. 64 wins. A defending championship. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander averaging 31 points, 6.5 assists on over 55% shooting, while also winning the league's Clutch Player of the Year award. He did all of that while Jalen Williams, his second star, was limited to roughly 33 games with a wrist injury. That is not normal. Most teams lose their whole season when their number 2 option disappears for half the year. Oklahoma City won 64 games anyway. But here is where things become truly unbelievable, and I'm going to prove it to you. San Antonio beat this team 4 times in 5 regular season meetings. Then they beat them again in the Western Conference Finals, 4-3, closing it out on the road, in Oklahoma City's own building, 111-103. In Game 6, the game before that, San Antonio didn't even make it close. They won by 27, holding the Thunder to under 37% shooting, with Victor Wembanyama recording 28 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 blocks in an elimination game. And this is no coincidence. Across that entire series, whenever Wembanyama outscored Gilgeous-Alexander, San Antonio won the game. Every single time. That's not a fluke matchup. I think that's a blueprint. Oklahoma City has the MVP. Oklahoma City has the record. Oklahoma City has the ring from last year. But across 5 regular season meetings and 7 playoff games, they repeatedly failed to solve one specific problem, standing 7'4" tall. I don't care how good your regular season is. You cannot call yourself the favorite for 2027 when the team most likely to stand across from you in May has already beaten you 8 times in 12 meetings across the regular season and playoffs. That is not a coincidence. It is a real matchup problem. Oklahoma City is the safest team in the regular season. Safety does not win championships in May. Oklahoma City is eliminated. But here's the part that should scare every single team left in this league. San Antonio isn't just good enough to beat Oklahoma City. I'm convinced San Antonio might be built to beat everyone. Victor Wembanyama just became the youngest defensive player of the year in NBA history, at 22 years old, and the first unanimous winner of that award. 25 points, 11.5 rebounds, 3.1 blocks a game, leading the league in blocks for the 3rd consecutive season. He finished 3rd in MVP voting, behind only Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and 3-time MVP Nikola Jokic. 7'4", with an 8-foot wingspan that turns him into a problem no scouting report can actually fix. He can protect the rim like a 7-footer. He can switch onto a smaller guard on the perimeter like a wing. He can shoot over the top of anyone alive. He can control an entire possession without ever touching the ball in isolation. I don't say this lightly. That's not a skill set, that's a cheat code, and he's only 22 years old. This past postseason, San Antonio reached the finals for the first time since 2014, a full year ahead of where anyone honestly expected this young roster to be. And yes, they lost. New York beat them 4-1. But listen to how that series really happened, because I've gone back through every one of those games. San Antonio's own head coach admitted afterward that his team simply wasn't ready to win it all yet, that the better team had won, plain and simple. He's right. But not ready is not the same thing as not good enough. Go check the box scores yourself. San Antonio built real leads in that series. They just couldn't close them. Their problem was never talent. It was composure. It was execution in the final 5 minutes. And that is exactly the kind of muscle that only gets built by losing in the finals once. And this is no coincidence either. The last time these two franchises met in the NBA Finals, back in 1999, it was San Antonio who won, in 5 games, for their very first championship in franchise history. 27 years later, New York got its revenge. Call it fate if you want, or just call it basketball. But if history repeats itself the way it usually does, 2027 is exactly when that debt gets paid back the other way. So here's my verdict. Oklahoma City is the best regular season team on the planet, and it still is not walking away with 2027, because the team most likely to face them in the playoffs has already beaten them 8 times in 12 meetings across the regular season and playoffs. Philadelphia has championship talent on paper, but more health and durability risk than any other major contender. New York proved they can survive chaos. But chaos is not a strategy you get to repeat on command. San Antonio is the only team on this list that has already dismantled the presumptive favorite, that has already tasted the exact failure it needs to fix, and that is doing all of it with the best two-way player this league has produced in a decade, and he's still only 22 years old. Talent was never San Antonio's problem. Composure was. And I firmly believe composure is the easiest thing in the world to fix when you're this young, and you've already been to the finals once. The 2027 NBA champion is the San Antonio Spurs. And if you want to understand exactly how a kid who once had a blood clot in his shoulder turned into the most terrifying two-way weapon in this entire league, you need to watch the full story of Victor Wembanyama's rise, right now. Because what happens in that story is exactly why 2027 belongs to him.